Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about how one would start off with if they wanted to get into at least the ratio trading stuff that I do and that I talk about. Like in a hypothetical example, someone comes over to my place and they're saying, yeah, I want to get into this. Of course, you go through the basics, like how much do you even know about trading? Have you ever traded any markets before? Have you ever heard of what day trading means? All that type of stuff you'd have within conversations. But what's important is you have to have a trading account. Binance is, at least in Canada, be the first one I would always talk about. And I think if you need to day trade anything with the BNB or Ethernet market or any other market that is lower than microstakes, you can do so. Meaning, you want to get customized to the trading site, customized what it is to make trades, understand the wallets page and all the features and the options that you have available to you within that site. So get familiar with that. And by doing such, you can learn different trading things. But why I say BNB Ethereum markets is the minimum trades are very low. So whether you lose or win anything, it's not going to make any difference anyway. But what it does do is it helps you get familiar within such. Number two, understand hard wallets, private keys, and test and set up the wallets you are going to need, which coincides with understanding, say, Binance or Bittrex or whichever site you're using. As an example, okay, let's just test out this Raven coin as an example. Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to buy a small amount on Binance, and now I'm going to go to the withdrawals. I'm going to send it to my private key, but I don't even have one. So now you go and you make your own private key for, say, the Raven coin. You get it all set up. Now you got your public key. So now from Binance, you send some over. Oh, and you see maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes. It might take some time, but it'll get there, and it's there. Okay. So now you have it. You withdraw it, and you send it to Binance. So Binance, you go to the deposit section, you find your Raven coin address, you copy, you paste, you do all that stuff, and you send it back. And now you test how long, or you check how long it takes for it to get there, how many confirmations you need, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you see if the fees are so expensive or it takes so long, maybe it's a coin you don't want to hold, depending on what you're looking for. Understand, of course, within your strategy. So you just understand those wallets, get familiar within them, and then buy the levels of the altcoins you want to trade, which is really you set up what you want to do. You set up like a spreadsheet or your book that you're writing it on, or within your computer or your phone. You have it set up that way, whichever is best for you. And once you get all that done, well, you're into trading. And I've now changed my chalkboard. I accidentally actually lost my last copy, and I like this one better. So anyway, 2 Bitcoin investment, we'll say. Someone's trying to come and say, I want to put 2 Bitcoin in, I got 20 grand. Okay, well, how much do you want to put into Bitcoin? Well, 2 Bitcoin. No, yeah, I know that, but when you put it into Bitcoin, we get in the game, you're going to have to buy some altcoins. So what percentage do you want to hold back? And within the game, the job that I talk about in my strategy is to accumulate Bitcoin when the time is right. And right now, it's distribution of Bitcoin. Distribution means every so often when these altcoins are going down against Bitcoin like they've been doing, you just want to keep pumping them into altcoins here and there. Every time Bitcoin dominance has a new leg higher, it's a new investment, basically. And that's the reason why you want to have some into Bitcoin. So assuming you're like, yeah, I want to have a quarter of it into Bitcoin. So now we got 1.5 Bitcoin to put into altcoins. So you allocate how you want to do this, set that up. I'm going to have some Litecoin, some Tezos, some Ripple, some Theta, some Neo, some Qtum. You know what? Just pick the ones you want. And maybe you just want 2 coins, 3 coins, 4 coins. And number 3, how are you going to get the 2 Bitcoins to start? Because I'm assuming someone's coming to my place and I ain't selling you 2 Bitcoins. I'm not going to sell you 20 grand. No way. No way. But I mean, I do have to I'm in the business because this is what the business is all about. of turning Bitcoins into real things. So every so often, I like to use it for groceries, and every so often is like pretty much every day, and things of that nature. So there's a number we can get to, but there's only so much. So I'd have to explain people, if you're looking to get a serious amount, you have to find a way to buy. I haven't done this since like March of 2017. But I see on Binance there's a place you can see buy it. Of course, there are ways of buying it without ever having a banking transaction ever done. And I'm, other than Coinbase, and I don't really count that. And in Coinbase, I've just held and sent cryptos. I've never bought or had any type of dollar transactions there. So I guess you can do it without even buying or using the banks in involvement. As when I bought cryptos in March of 2017 and February of that month as well, of that year rather, I ended up going to a gas station and buying numbers on a piece of paper. And then I used those numbers on the internet, and then they'd ask me for a public key, and I put it in, and they give me Bitcoin. And it worked out. The way I did it on a calculated level, I was able to buy a little bit, a 3-figure amount, to pay only about 7-8% over the price of what the Bitcoin was, which I figured, it's worth doing, and I did. And totally was worth doing. So that was number 3. Now, the next one, why are you doing this? Like, seriously, if you're in this, why are you in this game? And if you give me one of those I don't know answers, okay, well, really, you shouldn't be doing that. You could be talking about stuff where you think it's a great long-term play. You got all of these potential moves. It's like a poker tournament that could win like 10, 20, 100, 500, 1000x scores, but a very higher realistic chance of winning, especially when you come into a poker tournament, you got an 80% chance of not cashing maybe. Maybe that number is much lower on here, you're saying. And then the reason for it is why it works out. You also like, well, cryptos are going to go up, and I know the strategy will just increase the value. It's going to be so great, okay? And then you explain the strategy so well, and you're talking about how it's like insurance against the fiat currency. And, well, give me those answers, then you're totally in the game. And are you sure you want to do this? Like, this is part of definitely alternate investing to many ways in which the world was. And, well, if you're in it, you might as well enjoy the ride. And let's take a look now at how many you want to allocate into each one. And I have a few crossings below. And enter any number of how many you would want to own. We'll get into that in a little bit. But what we have is a combination of every coin. There is 5 different coins: Theta, Litecoin, Tezos, Ripple, and Bitcoin Cash. Let's assume there's 5 coins you want. The names of them are whatever, but this is what you would do is combine them all. So every one is combined with every one. And in such, we have 4 that start with Theta, 3 that start with Litecoin, but then there's this 4th one here. 2 that start with Tezos. There's 2 that start here for 4. And Ripple, there's 1 that starts with Ripple, but 1, 2, 3, they'd all be in there in that combination. So this way, these are the coins you want, and you're just trading them back and forth cumulatively. And it's going to be normal for when one coin has a really good or even a big retracement down move, that you just trade everything against it. Meaning, say Theta goes up 45% in one day, or like it was a few weeks ago. You sell it for everything. You sell Theta for Litecoin. You sell it for Tezos. You sell it for Ripple. You sell it for BCH. And then it retraces back. Say it's a failed breakout. Then day 2, 3, 5 days later, a week, whatever later, you're selling Litecoin for Theta because it went from 1,300 to 1,000 Satoshi. Stuff like that. Or 1,500 to 1,000. Any of those great things that can happen. And one of the easiest ways of doing this, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 combinations. So if I had a Bitcoin and a half, I'm going to put the value of 0.15 Bitcoin on each one, which means 0.075 on Litecoin, 0.075 on Theta, and so on and so forth. And of course, you'd have 5 coins, so you would take 20% of everything. You just buy Litecoin, 20% of it, and buy for the same amount. So 0.3 on each coin. And that would be a simple way of doing it. But let's just say you didn't want every ratio to be worth the same. And you want to try to figure it out that way. One easy way of math that I do things, and I do this very common sometimes, and in a case like this is one way I would do it, is just put any number to start with theta Litecoin. And compared to that, well, how many theta Tezos would I own? And here's an example. Let's say I wanted to have 500 Litecoin theta. Well, if I was that, maybe I would have the 400 of this one, 250 of this, 750. And the number you use is irrelevant. It's just, if you own that many, how many would you want on the future other crossing? So what I would do is I would take the sum of these numbers, and I'm not even going to calculate the sum because it's just like, man, whatever. I'm just explaining how to do this in here. I take the sum of the numbers, and then I take this number and I divide it by that sum given, and that means that percentage of that amount I would put in towards it. So if it worked out that I'm going to put in 9.5% of this or whatever it is into this crossing, that's what I'm going to do. And then half of it goes into Litecoin, half of it goes into theta, and so on and so forth. But that's just one example of how I do it. And when we have market movements looking like this, again, the game plan is to accumulate that of Bitcoin. So assuming this is where we are and markets go down a bit more, maybe you buy a bit more of your Bitcoin. Like I say, you lift a quarter into Bitcoin. Well, now you have 0.5, so maybe use 0.10, 0.15, 0.20 or whatever during this run to buy that of your altcoins. And then you have these fantastic runs that occur. And hopefully you get this volatility. You see some of those up and down moves that I get. You're just hoping that it works out that well. But during these upper peaks, if you get the chance and the opportunity to be profit taking in here, thus you get to situations where it's like one of the easiest strategies. I think the best way is to, when you get, this is say against the dollar, it's looking this way, and it's better against Bitcoin, all this great stuff. But when the values get so large, well, now it's profit taking times. And I think there's three manners in which I recommend and what I like to do as far as what to do with my Bitcoin. And of course, one of them is to buy back later because it's so common. Markets go up here, and then all these buyback opportunities are just going to occur. You see one of your coins has a fantastic move. Well, is it going to be able to hold it? Well, a lot of times stuff like this will happen. The first one is real things, like precious metals, like obviously real estate, anything that's got real tangible value that you can hold. I guess different things like, I don't know, maybe stamps and collectibles that way, paint, art for sure, can be things you could consider as an investment. And then you consider investment in life items and just things that you need. I mean, I know this goes in the number 3 for profit take, but different things like food storage, maybe you have a good whatever for this, you have all of these different things that you can put it into. But as far as I'm talking about real investment items, you can even the stock market, there's another one right there, if you whether what call it. I have a hard time calling it real until it's on the blockchain, as weird as that may sound, meaning you put into an investment site like E-Trade or any of these other companies, and well, you really don't hold it, so I hate to say that as a real thing. But it's another different thing outside of cryptos, though. Then the buybacks, as I mentioned, when the markets move like that, if they're going to go back down, well, if I'm selling at the peaks, well, now I'm going to use some of it. Okay, what am I'm going to allocate of that for within this third for it. Now, how do I want to buy it back? Bitcoin and or the dollar. If I see a coin, altcoin, go from $1 up to 50, and I'm selling it I started doing this at 25, 30, all the way up to 50, selling it. What's the chances it goes back down to 4, 5, 6, 7? And I've seen it happen so many times. So maybe I'll put it into TUSD and be ready to buy at this price and that price, things like that. And then Bitcoin, you see it go down against Bitcoin. So I'm just going to, well, if it's at, say, 8,000 Satoshi or whatever, it was 400 at one point. And now I could probably get away with buying this between 1 and 2,000. And that's what you plan on doing. So you just hold it onto a hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Nano or whichever type of wallet you have. And then when the time is right, because the markets go down when those situations happen, you transfer it to that and you buy those coins. And you got your buyback. And then profit taking is, well, you're in the business. Go ahead and do it. That's like taking things like your, like as I mentioned at the start, if someone wants to buy cryptos off me, maybe I want to take out maybe 300 this month. Well, I guess I can sell you up to 300. That's the way it looks because I'm not in a distribution time. So at this stage right now, if people were to buy cryptos off me, you're not going to get much. If Bitcoin is up to 64,000 and altcoins are at a heavy distribution time, I'll really tell you the dangers of buying at this time, but I most certainly have a lot more to sell because I'd be more aggressive in doing that. Because when we're in these types of levels, I want to use as little as possible in my day-to-day life on cryptocurrencies. But on the opposite end, 60,000 Bitcoin, altcoins going up really big. Now I can always do the maximums, but I can be like, well, instead of just buying groceries for the next month or two, why not for the next year? Stuff like that when you get to those big prices. You can do that. And then, of course, one way of doing that is holding it into dollars, like a TUSD or whatever, or just multiple ways. You figure, well, how can I do it? And oftentimes getting the answer for things like that is pretty easy. At least I think so. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.